Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it is only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens and creates a country where everyone lives in fear. And this week's opening quote comes from Harry S. Truman. Welcome to Surviving the Matrix. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Maxwell Egan. It's a pleasure to be with you once again, and I will be your host for the next hour. Well, it's a pleasure to be back, folks. I've been away for a rather extended break, about 2 months or 2.5 months I've been off air. I'm sorry about that, but I have had a lot of stuff to take care of. I went across to England and spoke at AV6 at the request of Ian R. Crane, which was very nice of him to have organised that for me. And then I went across to Spain to begin preparation for the launching of the Full Circle project, which I'm in the middle of working on now. From Spain, I was flown to Peru by a very dear friend who wanted to have me help coordinate a group he was bringing to Peru. And as fate would have it, I'm actually still in Peru at the moment, folks. So things are not where I thought they would be at this stage this year. I thought I would be home now, and I thought I would be doing stuff there, but I'm actually in Peru, and I will be in Peru until around about mid-August when I have to go home and do a bit of stuff over there. So I'll try to keep the shows on the air while I'm here in Peru, and may have to take a week off at some stage while I'm getting organised to go home again in mid-August. But we'll just see how that goes. You never know, I may be able to get away with doing the jump across to Australia and not even lose any air time. We'll just see how we go with that one. But it is good to be back anyway, and thank you very much for putting up with the rather long absence of the last couple of months. But yeah, folks, look, I'm still here in the Amazon at the moment. So you may hear the odd jungle sound, and you may hear the odd helicopter flying over, because we get a few here. So please just bear with me on that one. I'm also not sure what the sound quality will be like here, folks, but I am doing my best. I'm working on a little laptop at the moment, so I hope that you can all hear me clear enough. And again, I apologise for the extended break. I would like to say, however, that it was very, very worthwhile going to England and doing the AV6 conference with Ian Crane. It was a very, very informative conference, folks, and if you were in England and you didn't make it to the conference, well, I'm afraid you missed out, because it was a very good conference. And I think Ian has the DVDs for sale on his website, and if you can possibly afford it, I would very much suggest that you go and purchase one of these DVDs, folks, because it was a very, very good conference. In fact, I would go so far as to say it is the best speakers weekend that I've actually attended, simply because of the caliber of the speakers. It was very, very informative information from almost all of the speakers, and it was also a very enjoyable time for all concerned, the speakers and the attendees as well. So I do recommend you check that out, folks. I'm sure he'll upload it to his YouTube channel at some stage, but for now the DVD is for sale, and it would support Ian's work if you were to go and buy one, so I think that's a good idea as well. But my, what a state the world has gotten itself into in the last couple of months. Our governments seem to be almost tripping over themselves to lock our civilizations down into this nice little cotton wool version of reality that they keep telling us will keep us safe. But really it doesn't look very much like a cotton ball version of reality from within the reality, because when you look at our societies and you look at the way they're becoming, you look at the state of our police, then the impression that you get certainly isn't anything warm and cuddly, that's for sure. And really, folks, when I look at this situation, I mean, all I can really think is, well, how much are the people going to take? When are the people going to stand up and make some noise and call things for what they are? And that's what I'm trying to organise with Full Circle Project, folks. And I'm sorry for those who are waiting for it. It's been a little late in coming because I've been so busy with moving around, and even here in Peru it's been very difficult for me to get internet. I've finally got proper internet a couple of days ago, and I've finally got a table that I can sit at, which is a real bonus, having a table. And so now I'm able to actually do some work. So we've got a lot to do to get the website up and running and get it finished, but that will be done very soon. But with Full Circle Project, what I'm attempting to do, folks, is link everybody up into a full spectrum response to what our governments are in the process of doing. Because ultimately, folks, our governments are running scared. Every single one of them on the planet is running scared. That's why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, and they're waking people up in droves. Even my totally asleep sister, who I haven't been able to wake up since birth, is actually waking up to the fact that something is terribly wrong and that we need to act, and we need to act cohesively as a respectful, coordinated and unified society. And that's what we need to do, and that is how we can combat the problem. And everything the governments are doing is designed to circumvent us from doing that, folks. That's what they're trying to do. They're doing everything they can to prevent us from unifying and to vilify anybody who is speaking the truth. They're doing the best they can to label people such as myself, anybody who questions the actions of government, into the same basket as ISIS, which is again run by these same people. Don't think ISIS is Muslim extremist, folks. It's not. It's a Western run operation, provably Western run, designed to destabilize the region and to create fear in people's minds, and to use that fear to be able to vilify any dissent at home and lock all of our countries down. And they're in the process of doing it now, but they're stumbling, they're falling over themselves, they're tripping over their legislation, they're doing everything they can to keep society as distracted as possible in every direction they can, and they're making so many mistakes that now is the time that we can actually put something cohesive and unified together and stand up in a full spectrum response to what these people are doing. And that's what we need, folks. We need response. We don't need resistance. The term resistance is actually a loaded term. It's a program. It makes you believe that you must resist that which is inevitable. Well, I'm not resisting, folks. I'm responding, because I don't believe that their control grid is inevitable at all. I think what is inevitable is human freedom, and that will come if we choose to stand up and respond to what our employees are doing. And so that's what I intend to do with Full Circle Project, and there's a lot of people that have joined the project and will be acting with me. And this is a project like no other, folks. This is a movement like no other. This is a movement without leaders. This is a movement where we all lead ourselves. Because that's the way it has to be done, folks. We can't have a movement where there's a leader that can be taken down. We need a movement where people are free to lead themselves. We need a movement which is simply grass fires and a change of perspective in the minds of the people, and a mechanism by which they can apply that new perspective to this situation and bring about some actual definitive results. That's what we need, folks. We need action, but we need action that is going to work. And of course, such action is going to take the participation of the people. That's the thing. People have to participate in the change they wish to see. Otherwise, no such change will ever come about. And that's been the problem up to this point. There's been too many people joining movements and think that just by joining the movement, they've actually made a difference. But it isn't that way at all, folks. You actually have to participate in this situation, and you have to take the message to where it needs to go. You've really got to aim for the throat in this situation, folks, and that's what we intend to do with Full Circle Project. And what the project consists of, folks, is, as I said, a full spectrum response to the situation that we're facing from government. I mean, really, when you look at this situation, we face a myriad of problems, we really do, but ultimately each one of these problems are simply a symptom of the wider problem, which is the government corruption at the top, which has created all the symptoms. I mean, I know those of you who are regular listeners to the show have heard me say this many, many times in the past. But ultimately what we are doing in our response to this situation generally is attempting to put band-aids on symptoms rather than addressing the real root cause of the problem. And that's what we have to do. We have to focus our attention on the problem that has created all these symptoms. And ultimately, it comes down to government officials abusing the office that they hold. It doesn't matter what problem that you're facing. If you really trace it to its commonality, that's what you find. Everything that we've got on this planet, folks, every problem that we're facing is all the result of legislation that is put in place by people we employ to manage our infrastructure for us. All of these people are, in fact, in abuse of office, even under their own legislation. And so we need to turn our focus there and start turning our attention towards the individuals who hold the particular offices who are enacting the legislation which is causing all of these problems. That's where we have to put our focus. And we certainly do have a lot of reasons for doing this, folks. Look at Jade Helm that we've spoken about in the past. Jade Helm appears to be morphing into something quite disturbing. Well, at least it seems to be something quite disturbing. I heard a report the other day from someone, I think it was on Caravan to Midnight, where they were talking about the fact that it's actually an AI program and it's about mapping the human terrain. And this is quite conceivable that this is what it's about, folks. It actually makes a great deal of sense that this is what they will be doing. This is why they've been directing everybody towards a digital reality. Why they've wanted everyone to have cell phones, why they've wanted everyone to use credit cards for all their transactions, and why they are so interested in this paper trail on not just some activity of what people do, but every activity of what people do. This is why they want smart meters. This is why they want smart fridges and smart appliances and all this sort of stuff, because it is for mapping the human terrain, because that way you have an AI control grid, and you simply have to put this control grid in place, and you can designate to the computer who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And of course, the good guys will be government and bankers and anybody who supports their agenda, and the bad guys will be anybody who speaks out against it. And the machine will take care of it. And when you look at the way the modern military runs wars, I know several people who've been involved in the military, and they'll tell you quite honestly that when you're on the ground in the military, you have no idea what's actually going on. You're just following orders, you're destroying the targets that are designated for you to destroy, and you're looking after your buddies who are in the team with you. That's really what it's all about. Being in the military is mostly about carrying out objectives and being there for your buddies, looking after your buddies, making sure everybody in your team is safe in whatever the objective is that you are carrying out. But you don't know what that objective really is or what it's related to. You just know you have to go and take out this certain area and quell any opposition. So it would be very easy for an AI system to actually be able to control the situation on the ground and simply assign and delegate orders to different factions that were out there carrying them out. And it really does make perfect sense for the powers that believe they be to be putting a situation like this in place and to be putting a system like this in place, because this is the type of system that would actually work, and it eliminates all human error, inasmuch as it takes all decision makings away from human beings who may show compassion or judge a situation to be slightly different to what the computer says it is. The computer has no empathy. The computer just sees people as collateral damage and doesn't put humanity into the equation at all. It's not about protecting humanity. It's about protecting those who are designated to be worthy of protection by the computer or by whoever programmed the computer. And that seems to be what Jade Helm is, and that seems to be the way they're taking things, and that really does make a great deal of sense for them to be doing this, folks. So like I said, there is a lot of reasons for us to respond. There is a lot of things we need to respond to, but ultimately all of these things we are responding to have a common cause, and that's what I intend to do with Full Circle Project, is to shift perspective a little bit of all of these different movements and help them readjust their focus so that we're all focused on the root cause of the problem, because that is the way we will bring about some solutions. We're never going to do it by hacking at the branches, folks. We're never going to do it by fighting the symptoms all the time. We have to turn and address things at their root, because that's really the only way we're going to find a way out of this quagmire we currently find ourselves in. This quagmire of legal fiction and government-sponsored terrorism. Because ultimately that's what we find ourselves in, folks. We find ourselves in a situation where we are subject to government-sponsored terrorism almost every day. What our governments are doing is they are building a private army for themselves to protect themselves against the citizens. And this situation is not acceptable. It's time we stood up and dealt with it in the right way. And that's what Full Circle Project is about, folks. This year, the gloves do come off.